You like your scope better than the video.
Many
it's
times.
Not like it's worse than the video. A lot of times it's better.
Right away, we really felt confident that this was not an issue that was going to bother this horse in his career.
When are you going to smell the roses? When are you going to think about work-life balance? Well, this is my smelling the roses,
We're gonna
right?
smell the roses at the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
That's where we want to smell the roses.
So one day after a year in bed, he started moving his toes miraculously. And the first thing that he says is like, show me the horses.
I want to ride again. Welcome to Leading the Way podcast. Randy Hartley, Dean Derenzo, and today's guest is Dr. Alberto Rullan. He's not just a veterinarian. He's the veterinarian. And
He's our veterinarian.
he's owner of Performance Equine, Medicine and Surgery. And I want you to talk a little bit about yourself and,
All right.
kind of tell them what your start was.
All right, good. That's easy. I was, just imagine the mountains of Puerto Rico. So I'm from the Caribbean, right? Rode horses every day since I can remember, maybe 2 years old. Rode horses to the grocery store, rode horses to hide from mom and dad. Later on, rode horses to the bar to get the cows every night. So grew up with horses ever since I can remember. One day when I was 8 years old, my dad was training one of my stallions, and back home you ride on the street. And when I came from school, I saw a bunch of people in the sidewalk, and I was driving on the school bus, and as I look around, there was a lot of people. I didn't know what that was. When I get to my grandma from the school bus, it happens that was my dad and my horse. They fell down. A medicated driver collided with them from behind, hit him on his hind ends,
Hey.
broke, obviously, made him suffer, broke several legs, both legs. And my dad fell on the road, broke his back,
Hey.
and the horse was suffering for a very long time. I found out about that. We was rushed to the area. My dad was sent to the hospital right away, and the horse was left in the ground because there was no veterinarian in town. There was no vet to come and see the horse. So I was desperate, a little kid, had no idea what was going on, but I knew that my dad and the horse were seriously hurt. I didn't know what to do, what to say. I just knew that there were so many human doctors in town, and how come there was no one single vet that could help the horse? So to make the story short, eventually the horse, after hours of suffering, was sent to heaven. My dad was sent to the hospital. He spent a whole year in bed without moving because of his spinal injuries. And the only thing that helped him come back from it was horses.
Yeah, they can touch you in a special way.
I feel like the only way he recovered, because it was a miracle. Back in the day, there was no back surgery. There was
Really?
absolutely nothing that they could do for him. So one day after a year in bed, he started moving his toes miraculously. And the first thing that he says is like, show me the horses.
I want to ride again.
6 months later, he was on a horse again.
Wow.
And with his, but they put like this cast on you and all that. And the only thing that kept him alive was the hope of riding again. So at that moment, obviously, I made the decision that I wanted to be a vet to fix horses' legs.
Right. At 8 years old, and
yeah.
something that dramatic
Yeah,
on that. So that was your thought process then at 8.
yeah.
To be a veterinarian, and so then you moved on and came to. Where did you do your undergraduate?
I did it at Penn State.
At Penn
So
State.
there was no
Illinois.
school back home. All veterinarians in the town were in the big cities. which I was not. I'm from a little town called Adjuntas in the mountains. So they all spoke English, which I didn't speak English. They all went to the United States. I had no idea how to get to the United States. So I started working towards figuring out what I needed to do to go to vet school. And somehow magically, after I graduated high school, with a failed English SAT score
Yeah, I bet.
and a broken
speak any.
English, a very broken English essay, I applied to 7 schools, and somehow Penn State University accepted me. So
Really?
Awesome.
It's a
I,
pretty good damn story there.
sure, they must have liked my math score. So I went to Penn State, did my undergrad, worked out my butt off to make sure I got into vet school. Then I went to University of Pennsylvania for vet school.
Right. Amazing school, Ivy League school.
Yep.
And then practice. What was your first practice?
First practice was in Ocala. Well, I did my internship after vet school.
Right.
Then I went to Ocala, and I was hired to open the surgery and medicine and lameness department for a small practice in Ocala. And you know how it goes sometimes. The things don't go as planned. They were, if the economy crashed, that was in 2008 came,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
everything went downhill, and I had to open up to go on my own, quote unquote,
Yeah.
and open up my own with my brother William, as you know.
Yep. Yep. Big part of your operation and big help in a lot of ways, and
Yep.
for all your clients and yourself
Yep.
and your staff on that. And everything's made with a team, as we all know. That's for sure.
Everything is family and team.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, something that the way we practice right now has to do a lot with my brother, because as you know, my brother, when right before we opened our practice, he was diagnosed with leukemia.
Right. I did know that.
And he was like anybody else diagnosed with leukemia. They're not supposed to do good, right? But he was involved on a research with stem cells at Chance University. So he was a guinea pig. And we were all about stem cells. It was a big thing going on about stem cells at the moment, and we really wanted to do this. He recovered after 100 days in the hospital. He recovered. He came out, and
All good.
all good.
Not
So that's right. So we then practice a lot of veterinary medicine with regenerative medicine from everything we learned from his.
Right. So that puts
from
you
his-
even more passion in
Yeah.
it, besides
Yeah.
your dad and your
Well,
brother.
you've seen
and
what
so
it could do for your brother,
Yes.
so you wanted to do the same for horses.
Yep. Yep.
Well, here we are at Keeneland in Lexington, Kentucky, the largest horse sale in the world, as I
Awesome.
just learned. I said the country, but the world. Looking at probably the greatest athletes in thoroughbred can be born through here in the bluegrass state. And we, of course, will tell the viewers that Alberto Rullan is our veterinarian that we use with a lot of confidence
Yep.
and in going through horses for our purchases and a lot of other people's purchases besides. He doesn't solely work with us, but we work together pretty close.
Dean thinks he does.
Yeah, well, I think our relationship
They're
has
my only
grown very
clients.
strong.
They're my only clients.
Yeah, we think of it that way. That way we don't want to hear anything else. But so our relationship began about how long ago?
Well, I would think almost 10 years ago
10
or
years
more.
now.
Yes.
Wow,
And
10 years.
Yes. Yes.
You are getting a little gray.
I know. We started with the quarter horses.
that's
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
That's right. And so then when we both thought, Alberto doesn't ever give up. He's gonna find what is going on.
That's right.
Yeah, or
And,
die trying.
Yeah.
Would I try?
Die trying. And so that was really important to us
Yeah.
because, having somebody to spend the time looking for some things that may be catastrophic later, and we don't want to get to the later portion of it, so we want to treat these animals.
Preventative.
and
We're trying to prevent things before they happen.
on that we were really impressed with your try and your guts. To
That
be
feels
honest.
good.
Yeah, I mean that was a big thing for
that
both
was
of us.
that was
Yeah.
the reason.
And so we then we worked with a veterinarian prior to Rusty Young. Dr. Young decided to retire.
Mm-hmm.
So it was perfect timing for us
Mm-hmm.
to bring in. Besides, we like the youth.
Yeah.
You know, the youth brings new, modern medicine to
That's right.
our team.
Yep.
And we need that. So we can give some pointers to maybe some other people that are out there looking there. So we go through our process of making a short list for Alberto, and then we go over our examinations after Alberto does. Randy, myself, and Alberto do it together at all times.
And you cannot overemphasize that the teamwork aspect of this
I agree.
of this business. There is no way in heaven that the success that a team has.
Could have said hell if you'd like.
There's no way that the success that a team has can be achieved by only one person, right? No matter what you do,
Right.
a team is always going to be better than one. And I think that one of the things that this team exemplified in the industry is that teamwork. There are other teams out there, no question about it. But of course, this is the best team. But
That's right. We all agree to that.
we all
don't
agree to that.
Three of us anyway.
But I feel like and this doesn't just apply for the industry, but since we're talking just about this industry, there's so many people trying to make it on their own, and you can see them struggling
Right.
financially, professionally, personally. They struggle when you try to do things by yourself. And in this industry, if you're by yourself, it eats you
Yeah,
away.
it's a lonely over there.
Ugh.
Well, having Randy knowing the horses, you know how their habits are, their eating, their you know what they're feeling each day, and then communicating with you and myself about what he's feeling or seeing, and it may be just as simple as saying that horse just isn't right.
The importance of that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's someone in the team always that knows the horse better than anybody else.
Right. And it could be the groom.
It's someone.
Yeah.
And that someone, all they need to say is that horse is not right.
Right.
Or I have a feeling about this horse that is just not working out.
The way he's training, just
The way he's
anything.
training, the way he's walking. And that in part, sometimes I have issues with that because that doesn't really make it easy for my diagnosis,
No.
right? It's way easier to see a horse really limping.
Yep. Yeah, those are the hardest ones. It's just the little something we're not sure of yet.
And it's much harder, but the success that you get when you find it, when you actually prevent a major issue, that's the key,
And it all goes right.
right?
Then it goes right.
It's priceless.
So, you know, as we're here at Keeneland now, you know, Randy and I truck through the ponds. We bring a bunch of people with us. Rich Mendez over there, trucking right behind us. They're looking at horses and seeing what we are looking for.
Yep.
Then we hand them over to you.
Yep.
And you do your evaluation there. You knowing us and what we look for. Let's tell our viewers what we feel is the most important thing to look at first.
Veterinary wise?
Veterinary-wise.
Like once the horse has passed your
Right.
Inspections. Your inspections.
Yeah, confirmation inspections, attitude, personality inspections.
The first thing that we care about is something that is the most difficult for us to fix if we have an issue, right?
Right.
Which is the airway.
Exactly.
If we don't have a good airway, it's very difficult to breathe.
We don't have
Right.
any horse,
Yep.
no matter how good they are.
So
You gotta breathe.
You gotta breathe. So that is definitely the foremost, most important thing for our team, and we pay a lot of attention to that.
Even though Keeneland gives us the opportunity to have video scopes, which I think could be helpful in a lot of ways, so I'm definitely not against it. We feel like it's really important that
We want your opinion.
right
You
there.
know, that's a
And there's a reason for that, and I don't know where the industry is going to go with that in the future, because The throats, the thing with the throats is that they're so dynamic, and by dynamic I means they change so much on a daily basis. A horse throat can change almost overnight.
Yeah.
Almost overnight. So it is so important, and sometimes I want to make sure to our viewers, it's not like we're not trusting
Right.
the scope that's in the repository. We trust in the scope. Actually,
and we use it.
We
Yeah,
trust
we do
100%.
use it,
We use that as part of our information, because then instead of having just one view,
No, you got
we
two.
have two. So we get what we call a dynamic examination, in terms of not dynamic the horse racing, but at least how the throat is changing from day to day. So it makes us take better decision on our purchase. Or if we purchase, hey, this throat is doing this, we need to
It may get better.
better. We need to do this. We need to treat. We need to watch for this, watch for that. That's the main reason we look for that second scope.
And there's lots of times that you'll look at the video and go scope the horse, and it'll have a better. You'll like your scope better than the video.
Many
it's
times.
Not like it's worse than the video. A lot of times it's better.
Many times. I tell to the consignors myself, because sometimes you have a horse that comes in
Time
for
of the day gets
time.
scoped.
And maybe the horse has their babies, right? They could have a pharyngitis, they could have some mucus.
Just shipped 12, 15 hours.
There's-
Tired.
Exactly. There's so many things that it could have at that moment, and when I go scope the horse is way better.
Yeah. Which for us we love.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, that. So what's step 2?
Step 2 then is let's go to the bones, figure out what's going on in the bones, right? There are certain things that for our program we're buying not for end user racing, but most of the time we're thinking about pin hooking, right?
But isn't that the same thing? We
Yeah.
have the same goal,
I know,
no matter
right?
what. They're all going to the races. So I like to look at it this exactly same way, because at the end of the day, we're buying racehorses. Whether or not they get sold in the interim before they race makes no difference.
100%. But where there's a slight difference in the veterinary package is we always think where the horse is gonna go in the next 9 months, right? So when we buy a horse that is going to be a racehorse for sure, and it's gonna be a horse also that someone might be interested in buying, right? And when someone's gonna be interested in buying for pin hooking purposes, that horse, which pin hooking obviously means that a horse gets
And
purchased
resold.
here at Keeneland, and then it gets sold in March, April, June, or later on. But we're looking for horses that can withstand that type of work,
Right.
right? Horses that have the bone development and they're all gonna have some sort of pathology or some sort of bone problems. These are living animals,
Yeah,
right?
not made in a factory,
Right.
made by God.
They all have certain type of remodeling or certain type of slight bone changes. So we're looking for something that is going to withstand work, because these horses are major athletes. And for those of you who don't know about it, it's just like when a team, like a football team, is taking X-rays of football players, right?
Yep.
Same
Yep.
thing. Some football players have chip in their shoulders, chip in their knees, in their necks, etc. So we do the same thing, and then we figure out which one is going to be the best for what we want it to be, and which one is going to be able to actually make it all the way to the races. We're all looking for that champion.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And for us, it's a small window. We have a short period of time. So maybe for pin hooking, you need something that can withstand that shorter period of time versus something that's going to the races where you
And
may
get a
give
little
it
more time.
more time.
There's a lot of things a horse needs. A horse can take a 9-10 months off and
And still be a great horse.
to be a great horse.
Right.
So that does the horse.
No more time.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you-
We could talk about No More Time.
Yeah, let's
No
talk
More
about-
Time had a pathology to his X-rays when we bought him, and he went right to the races though, and got there early, but right away, really felt confident that this was not an issue that was going to bother this horse in his career. Things may come about later on. But this particular problem wasn't going to really bother him, and he made a great debut the other day. Still with no issues, lameness issues, or anything bothering him.
That is a perfect example of that horse, right?
Mhm.
That horse would be not an attractive horse for a pinhook, because you don't want to put that horse in a strenuous training early in January, February, March.
Mhm.
You give him a lot more time,
And
then he comes and
he
becomes a
comes out,
racehorse.
yep.
Yeah. So now, so when you go out to these barns, you start going from one to the next to the next. Tell us the whole process.
Yeah.
You know what you do.
So we get the list. After we get the list, we have two choices. We can either start reading all the radiograph first and then go scoping, or we can choose to go scoping first and then read the radiograph, because no matter what the scope is in the repository, we are going to go and,
Right.
and
Right.
re-scope them. If there is a horse that has a significant bad scope that we don't like a
We don't
2B
even go through the
throat,
X-rays.
a horse that has a very lazy arytenoid, what we call a lazy flap, or a 2B. We don't like those. We don't like those scopes. So we don't go through those X-rays, right? And similarly, if we are reading the radiograph and we see something that we know is gonna have a
Not gonna work.
significant decreased prognosis for racing, like a chip in the knee or a fractured sesamoid or
Right.
something significant, then we go crash those horses. Then we have the gray zone horses,
Yeah.
which is going to be probably the majority of them.
Right.
And these horses are not a yes completely and not a no completely. So those horses get a little bit more scrutiny. Then we keep working on them. These horses can get suspensory branch ultrasound, because if we know that horses that have a significant tear in the suspensory branches have a
Gonna need time.
decrease. Exactly, we're gonna need time. Might have a decrease average start if they start them too early.
Right.
So we go through that, and then after that, now we have a scope, we have X-rays, we have ultrasound, and I do a physical exam inspection where we look at their teeth, their eyes, their testicles if they are boys. We listen to the heart, because it's tough to race with a bad heart. And
And talking about that, we go one more step for us anyway, and we do heart scans and spleen sizes we look for other reasons there, and how they're born. And it's we sometimes find some abnormalities in the hearts.
You'll find a
You can.
murmur
That
or
way.
You can,
something,
yeah.
And, but not too often.
Mm-mm.
But it's the whether it's a slow rate of a heart rate is slower, we like those better.
understood.
And larger spleens, we like those better, which, for us, it's important for distance of a horse,
Mhm.
how far they'll go. So we do one more little exam that we use a sonographer for, and that does that and has a big bank of information that they judge and rate these horses off of there. And most of that is gotten from successful racehorses, and using those parameters to judge where this horse would be in that. Not a lot of that changes in heart, according to the professionals anyway. There, once they have that particular
And a
size,
lot of times
keep
they
it.
get better. The older they get, sometimes they get better.
That's definitely an interest in science, which, by the way, disclosure, I'm not very familiar with that science, obviously. So our
Right.
team hires another professional to work on that particular topic.
And then when we go home, then now we start to really take care of these horses in such a way, because, we put them under the stress of getting broke, going day-to-day training and stuff, and we use things like omeprazole.
Yes.
And tell them about what that does and how it helps.
Well, let's see why do we do omeprazole, right? Let's start with why. And the reason is that there has been many studies, including a little private study that we have done at our clinic,
Right.
where more than 88 in one study, 93% in our study of horses without symptoms
We'll have ulcers.
will have stomach ulcers.
Right.
And based on that study alone, which were very large studies, right? And well done, well documented, so they're proper studies. Based on those studies, it makes perfect sense to assume
Right.
that most of them will have stomach ulcers. And I don't know about you guys, but I do have a stomach ulcer as well. I have had it, and I don't do well when it flares
When it
up.
flares up, right.
I
Yeah.
don't do very well.
Same with the horses.
So in our case, I assume if I don't do well, if I know that 9 out of 10 will have it, why not treat on a preventative manner?
That's all what it's for.
And I think that is a beautiful thing that we can do for the horses, knowing that they actually do have it, like most of us do as well.
And then we elaborate on nutrition and shoeing and all the rest of it that goes within the training process. And I want all the viewers to know how important it is in the care.
100%. If you have a horse or a team of horses or a group of horses that get shoe every 2 months, get cut corners on the nutrition, cut corners on the dewormer, cut corners on the shavings.
Yeah.
These horses, there's no way they can perform
At 100%.
at 100%.
And really 110%.
And horses love performing. Like whoever knows horses, they know how much they enjoy performing.
They love to win.
And even bathing horses make them feel
good.
Brushing
good,
'em.
right? Brushing them, clean shavings make a huge difference. New shoes
Yeah.
whenever they need it, every 4 or 5 weeks. Now we know a lot about nutrition. One of the most developed science in the equine world is nutrition. So why not use that information? There's so much nutrition information, and these guys have done such a good work where they have pointed out the requirements of a horse to the tiny amount. So why not maximize that?
Building muscle and bone development and
And you see that in horses that get proper nutrition. You see in their coat. You see how they walk, how they're so much better.
They get happy.
Yeah.
They get in the habits in the stall, right? On that, the nice horse that came into us recently. How much happier that horse is after we've taken care of him and
in 3 weeks or whatever it's been, he's totally turned around.
In 3 weeks, this horse did a 180. Hair coat completely changed. Lameness completely
How
changed.
about attitude?
His whole attitude.
His attitude.
Yeah, you seen him 3 weeks ago and you were like, you couldn't believe it was the same horse.
Like they're saying, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for taking care of things. Thank you for helping us.
And that's just like a human. That's just like a human athlete taking a little break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Any human athlete, any football player takes a break. Any basketball players. I know plenty of professional basketball players, plenty of professional football players who are performing, and then they take a break.
So
change.
When are you going to take a break? When do you get the chance to take a break?
I take
after you got to take care of all these horses.
I take tons of break. I have such a good team. I have such an amazing team that they.
But when I think about how busy you are.
Yeah.
In a day-to-day, Saturday, Sunday,
no
it doesn't
days
make
off.
a difference.
But I don't work. You know,
you love it.
I just get paid for my hobby. No, I really feel like, and I think that a lot of veterinarians, a lot of equestrians are like that. We just have this passion for the horse.
Oh, we
and
do.
There's no one equestrian out there that doesn't have this strong passion to love the horse, to help the horse. And it's a mutual passion, right? They show it back. So how many?
And we look for it back. We need it back,
right? You just interview Mr. Lucas, who's 88 years old, who rides every day. Horses keep him alive and going.
That's the first thing he
That's
said.
right. He feels the best. He said when
Feels
he's on
the
the
best.
back of his horse.
Yep. 88 years old. That's phenomenal, isn't it? So
when you love what you do, when you love it so much, And that goes back into a lot of people. You always say, when are you going to smell the roses? When are you going to think about work-life balance? Well, this is my smelling the roses,
We're gonna
right?
smell the roses at the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
That's where we want to smell the roses.
and that's why I have involved all my family on the business. My wife,
boys.
my
She's
kids.
a veterinarian as well.
She's a veterinarian. They
And
travel with me. They know
Your
they
boys are
like
your
it.
assistants.
The boy go to a lot of
They go
sales.
to work every day.
They
love it.
They love it. Yep.
Well, that's what makes you a great veterinarian.
Thank
is
you.
Because your heart is in it
Yeah.
solely.
Yeah.
It's not a job,
Yeah. No.
and it's not a paycheck. And let me get done with it. And when you have to be there at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning, you got to do what you have to do.
That's right.
And know that particular animal is waiting
That's right.
for the care there. Hopefully, we don't have too many emergencies, that type of
Well,
thing.
When-
but,
you're always gonna have some.
The
Yeah.
thing you don't, and that's the important thing. You don't because
Yeah.
of the husbandry is so
Mhm.
sharp. When the husbandry is so sharp, horses. My grandpa used to say, right? Horses eat for 8 hours, sleep for 8 hours, and try to kill themselves for another 8 hours. No question about it. No question about it. But when the husbandry is sharp, they're significant healthier horses.
Yeah, you try to have things that we think is the most important, which would be the surface that we have to train them over, keeping that as level and and with as much cushion for them for their concussion as we can. So we feel like the number one thing is a racetrack
Hmm.
that we have to train over, and then of course we think about mind control, meaning trying to teach these horses how that they need to focus, do their job with focus, so they take every step and know where they're going to put their feet, so they don't take a bad step, and never get ahead of the horse. Meaning, Randy's the perfect one about this, is putting the major foundation in them so that when they are ready, they can make those steps without being tired,
That's right.
not taking
That's
a
right.
tired step.
It's called
that-
training.
It's called training. It is, but it's training with horsemanship and not
Yes.
a
Computer,
not a computer.
not a computer.
on
Yes, that's
that.
right.
And so of course, there's always little issues here and there that we have to overcome. But let's talk about some modern medicine. Like
Yeah,
you
perfect.
just talked about some stem cell and their own stem cells, PRP,
Yeah.
and then of course the
hyperbaric chamber. I mean, all your stuff that you use at your clinic.
Medicine has changed so much, but check this out. This is
we should take advantage of all that. All of us,
100%.
all of us in the industry.
100%. I get into human hyperbaric myself.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't do anything in horses that I would not do to myself.
Right.
There's so much medicine out there. Good. Back in the days, it was all about just let's put some
Band-Aid.
cortisone. Let's
Yeah.
put some steroids on it. Try to band-aid the problem. But now there's so many things that we can do to actually heal
Fix
them.
it.
And there's also, we have developed now a lot of rehabilitation techniques to help us actually fix the problem. Then we have a lot of regenerative, or we like to call it orthobiologic medicine right now, where we get the blood out of them. We can process plasma. We can do platelet. We can get placenta fluid,
Alpha
which
2.
is extremely good. We can do alpha 2M. The hyperbaric oxygen chamber, there's plenty of studies that show that it increases the release of stem cells from the bone marrow 100%.
Yeah.
It increases the oxygen carrying capacity in the blood by 600%. There's so many things out
crazy.
there
For
that are
healing.
natural,
Yeah.
right? Natural things to help them heal.
And I don't think our audiences know anything about this, and what they may hear is only one side of it. So I think it's important for us to talk about this and educate. And if even people in the industry, trainers maybe just coming up and a little bit younger and don't quite have the wisdom as Mr. Lucas or other trainers that are out there doing a fantastic job with their horses. So they need to learn about all the new
Yes.
things we can do to prevent things from happening to them, and to know that first and foremost is the welfare of the animal.
100%, 100%. That's where the husbandry and the examinations, like Randy goes every day and look at every horse before you go, right? Then you go and look at the horses again.
Yep.
Then
Yep.
the grooms go and look at the horses
Yep.
again.
Yep.
Like these horses
Then Rich
get,
comes and looks at the horses again.
they get looked at so many times, and I don't think people know how many times these horses get examined on a
Yep.
daily basis, right? And then because the welfare is what we're mostly concerned,
Yeah, that's
right?
that's
The
number one.
care of the horse.
And I hate when I go down the road and they find out I'm a veterinarian that deals a lot with race horses, and they're like, "Oh, these people just want this for the money." So wait a minute. How many times have you been at a racetrack? And I have been at a barn at a racetrack,
Never.
right? And how many? So what I did one time, I took a reporter, and I took him to the racetrack at Gulfstream, and I took him to the barn, and I say, "What did you see?" I randomly stopped at a barn. I knew how it was going to be, so I randomly stopped. "What did you see?" He said, "Oh, clean shavings,
A lot of people.
perfectly manicured horses,
Yeah.
shed rope perfect." It was perfect.
Yeah.
They and
Comfortable place.
so they had no idea.
You know, I always say, after we watch our horses get taken care of, I said, well, I'd like to die and come back as a Hartley
Right.
Davidson horse.
Right.
Because
Yeah, yeah.
it's taken care of way better than we are.
That's right.
Or way better than I take care of myself. Let's put it that way. There, I may limp around and never want to take care of it. And like Steve, we had Steve Allday, Dr. Allday on earlier, and he said, I feel like I'm the spokesperson for the horse.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a
You
great
know.
way. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah,
a great
and
way
he
to
said,
put it.
you know, the horses are always just willing to do it
They
for
never
you.
say no.
They never say no. And so I have to be their spokesperson.
That's right.
To take care of them. And so when I find it, I make a decision to do whatever it's needed to do so that we can help them stay balanced.
That's 100%. That's
And,
a great
yeah,
way
I
to
like
all
that.
day. Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, that
That's
was
great.
very good
Yeah. Yeah.
on that. So anyway, these are really good tips. Do you have any tips for any new people
New people. Yes.
that are coming in right now? And then we'll kind of get us a wrap up.
Any new people that are coming up, the best tip that I could have is get a team,
Right.
do your homework and get a team. It doesn't matter which team it is, because not everybody fits one team, right?
Right.
Get a team. Make sure that team has good leadership as well. So not everybody is scramble and looking for 10,000 things. Because one of the things that make this team successful is that every team has a job. It's like any machine has a part.
Right.
And then that person takes care of that part very well.
Tony Lacey called it a fabric where they all weave
Yeah.
together
Exactly.
and make up for the strength.
Then,
Well,
then-
just
of
us,
that.
we have two separate parts.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
You know,
Right.
totally
the-
separate parts.
then you have the leadership
Mhm.
of the team, and that's what makes it go. So any new person, that's the very first thing that I recommend. Find a team, do your homework, find a team, and then after that, I really like them to involve their family with it.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
second,
Mhm.
because
that's
it's such a
enjoyment.
beautiful sport, right?
Right.
Well, and from my personal point of view, my kids are involved, my employees are involved,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
Everybody is involved
Mhm.
in the industry, and everybody has fun with
Mhm.
it, because ultimately most people like the competition aspect. Everybody wants to compete.
Everybody wants to win.
Everybody wants to compete and win.
And when you succeed, you win.
Yeah.
When you succeed, it's so good, and when you have a good team, you have a higher chances of winning.
Yep. Yep. There's no two ways
Yeah,
about
like
that.
the
That's fact.
yesterday at the race yesterday, the colt run second.
Right.
But before the race, the family had such a good time at the races. It's like they had their fun before the horse even ran, so that you cannot take away what they had before. Now
And they made memories.
Zeke wasn't too happy when the horse lost. He was
Zeke's
like,
2.5.
Yeah.
When he saw the horse finish second, he got a little mad. He
was
wanted to
upset
win.
about it. He wanted to win.
Man, I was happy the
But
horse
that
was
the
there.
fun part, yeah.
But
But it's a good day, and it is about your family.
so we're going to have more discussions about this real soon here in the future, and
Yes.
we'll move on from that. So I want to thank Dr. Alberto.
Thank
Rullan
you. That
for
was
giving
fun.
some time
That was fun. Thank
to
you.
us, and we'll wrap up with Leading the Way. If you like what you're listening to or watching, look us up on Instagram, Hartley Derenzo, Leading the Way. Bye.